Go ahead.
Hi, this is Janine Stange, and you're listening to the Break It Down Show.
Yes, you are. We are so honored to have Janine as our guest today. She's best known for having a beautiful voice and using it for a beautiful mission of singing the national anthem in all 50 states. It's a mission that reaches many, and with it, she reaches out to everyone from Fortune 500 companies to inner city public schools and everywhere in between. She shared her mission of citizenship, duty, and service, and she's raised a good bit of money for some veteran causes, too. Thank you so much for joining us, Janine.
Yeah, thanks. I had to clear my schedule, but I'm here for you.
All right.
I had so many things I had to run out to do. Just kidding.
Well, yeah. This is a good time to capture podcasts, but it's also a good time to kind of hit the reset button and calibrate missions and figure out what next steps look like. What do they look like for you?
What they did look like, I had a lot of events where I do motivational speaking. So literally was in the airport almost every day up until March 11th when I realized, okay, can't go out anymore. But now I'm doing a lot of what you're saying, recalibrating some things and also just using my social media platform, things like that, to find people that can use help or to get the word out about some people who are doing some amazing things during this time. And, that's a lot of other things actually for veterans, Medal of Honor recipients. I could go through all the whole gamut, but it's been busy. I actually feel like I have not had I'm not complaining, but I just have not had a minute. When people say they're bored or they're making banana bread, I did that once and I never was able to do it.
How did banana bread become the thing for the great COVID crisis?
I want to say, I think it's the same way toilet paper became the thing. I think one person said it and then everybody's like, oh my gosh, I have to do that too. I felt prey of the banana bread thing. I didn't go that crazy with the toilet paper because I just can't. I don't know. I couldn't see how people are going to use that many rolls. Unless you have a dog or somebody who is going to pull the rolls through the house and render them useless.
How do current circumstances inform your message when it comes to mission and purpose and meaningful duty?
I think one of the things that I talk about in my motivational talks is a quote from Theodore Roosevelt. He said, do what you can with what you have where you are. And it is extremely relevant now. So it's funny because usually I'm on stage telling people to do that. And now I'm actually saying, well, what can I do with what I have where I am? And I am in the same location day in and day out. So it's looking around to see, what are your core values? What lines up with something that you feel completely passionate about to try to help spread the word or to just make sure you're doing more of or fine tuning it. So for me, it's just been a lot of kind of doing the same. I have something called Janine's team where I tell people about just different veterans, military families who can use some emotional support, some encouragement, and I get the word out about all those types of things. So now that I'm kind of home and able to do a lot more of that, it's allowing me to see how important that real connection is and allowing people to take a couple seconds and make sure that they're encouraging other people.
How did you come to focus on others with your work, your gift? I mean, that's one. Is that like a kind of a hallmark of what you do? I mean, your ability to create passion and love and emotions from your voice, you've surely known about that for a while, but to really, when crisis hits, you're leaning forward on helping others.
There was a time in my life where I was completely focused on myself. I think all of us are to some extent, but there was a paradigm shift that I had when it'll be 9 years in December when my mom passed away. And she was only 59 years old and she had breast cancer and we went through it, and anybody out there that knows somebody whose life's been touched by cancer, what it's like. And everything comes to a screeching halt. Like everything that's happened now for people, like within one day changing, for me, that one day that changed was early April 2011, when we found out that my mom had stage 4 breast cancer. And all these things that I was working on. I mean, I was working on pitching a reality show. I was working on everything that had to do with me didn't matter anymore. And I think when that all kind of came to an end, my mom passed away that December. So it took 9 months. I started to think, well, what can I do now? I used to always say this phrase, when I make it big, then I will give back. And I won't forget those people that helped me along the way, all that kind of stuff that we just love to say. And realize that, make it big is really kind of never enough, right? It's like the same thing, like you with your podcast. When I have X amount of clients or whatever, it's never going to be enough. You're going to see something bigger when you get to that next plateau. And I just said, well, maybe I just forget that when I make it big part and focus on then I'll give back. And I started to do that and realized that was actually something that I loved doing more than who cared about making it big. That's a byproduct. And so that's kind of when I started to realize the more I focus on using what I have to help other people, I definitely feel better. I could sleep better at night,
Can I want to interject for 1 second because I took my earbuds out because they were sounding.
Yes.
How's that, Pete? Does it sound any better?
It's really quiet, but it's better than the earbuds.
Okay, good. Well, then I'll speak up. Here's my question, Janine. One of the tenets I just recently read Think and Grow Rich, which I think was written in 1929 or something.
Okay, yeah.
And one of the tenets in there was exactly what you just said, which is it doesn't matter if you don't have much to give now. If you don't train yourself to give now, you will not attract success, because the attraction of success has to do with, just like attraction of anybody else, friends, romantic relationships, you have to be attractive.
Yeah.
And when you are giving and when you have purpose and when you're determined, all of those things make up this picture of success that makes success attractive, or makes you attractive to success.
People could smell it on you. Like there is a song lyric that I wrote. I know I said I wasn't really versed in music, but I did write a lot of songs back when I used to have albums out. And one thing that I wrote is this lyric. It says, don't paint the sunrise if you haven't seen the light. Don't walk on the moon if you don't know how to fly. There are some things you just can't do, and you can't fake the truth. And I think a lot of times people think they don't smell or look desperate, but they do. And everybody else knows it but them. And I think just that in general, when you start to look hungry and, you're out there kind of acting like you really care about some cause, but you really are doing it to get some exposure, it will work for maybe a little while, but it's like, hollow, and it will fall apart. So I think you have to really, like you're saying, is, dig in and be the genuine person of, those core values of whatever that is, but being that person that people actually want to be around rather than, oh, what can you give me?
Let's go back a little bit in time and talk about the discovery of your voice. It's one thing to be a motivational speaker. I think that comes from maturity and experience, but a voice often makes itself apparent earlier on. Talk about your discovery that you had something that was national grade. I mean, you don't get asked to go to all these incredible places with a second-rate voice.
That's it. What's funny is my mom used to say that I was colicky for 9 months and I screamed my lungs out. From when I was born till I was 9 months old. But I think I kind of always knew I wanted to sing. I also think it was a little bit of defiance because I used to go in my basement and sing. And my brother used to open the door, scream, "Shut up!" and slam the door. And I just kept singing on purpose, I think. But I remember specifically I was with a classical voice coach. And I remember she said, you're really small framed, but you do have this really big voice. And I think it had to do, she said, with the fact that I wasn't told, like somebody didn't look at me and say, you're a small frame, so you're going to sound small, therefore giving me music that would be for somebody who had a smaller voice. I had nobody telling me that, so I just was taking on these bigger songs. And I think that's a lesson, sometimes going with what you know rather than what all these people are looking at you, telling you are. So, and then I kind of just realized, okay, I can do this. And of course you need to learn control, and you need to learn really what style works, for you. Oh.
Here's something I'm curious about, Janine. You go to inner city schools and you talk to kids about service and duty. What's the conversation like with kids who are sensitive to the Colin Kaepernick thing?
I haven't had that too much, but when I do notice something like that, first of all, I always defer to veterans. Whenever somebody asks me directly, it's like, I just sing the song. I'm a civilian. If you want to ask somebody's opinion, who put their life on the line for it, and there are veterans who are completely supportive and that are not, and they have their right, just like he had his right to do what he did. I think the important thing is for kids to not just see somebody doing something and not know the reason why they're doing it. And I saw one kid one time when I was singing, and he knelt, and I didn't say anything to him. Again, it's his right, but I wanted to make sure he knew what that was for. But I also, in my talk, I didn't address him, but I was just talking about veterans. And I was just talking about the fact that, they'll give up to including their lives and sacrifice. And I could see in his eyes that he understood, what that meant. And then he could go ahead and make whatever informed decision he wants. I just always say, I think before anybody takes a judgment on any of that, they have to have their own personal experience and make that decision clear for themselves. So I don't get in the middle of any of that at all. I feel like my job is, because I can sing the song, I sing it the way it should be sung. And I am not trying to call attention to any of my own politics or agenda, because I don't think that is the thing for me to be in the middle of.
Thanks for encouraging the conversation.
Huh?
Thanks for encouraging genuine conversation. I mean,
well,
I know if he had if he had questions, I mean, you're out there exposing people to something, and if the only thing you're exposed to is Monday Night Football, then you have a skewed sense of something. And then somebody comes to your school and gives you something. Now you have a little more ammunition, you have a little more fuel, you have more opportunity for dialogue if there's something you have to say. So I just appreciate that you're out there making that dialogue happen, and if you haven't had the questions from people yet, it's probably because you brought some exposure to something that was maybe a different viewpoint.
That's what I hope. My thing is not pointing fingers at anybody and telling them to stop doing something. I just kind of try to point a finger on what they can do and let them make, again, their own decisions. I'm not running for office.
Would you run for office?
No. I do not want to get in the middle. I mean, gosh, I try to stay clear of all of that, and still people love to take something like a quote by someone and politicize it. And I'm always like, that's not what that was about, but all right,
So without putting you on a political position, if you could twist the knob on one thing for social things, like I would like to just make this a little better, not fix it, just make it a little better, what would be your one thing?
I think people fire off so quickly when they see something on Twitter, and they don't realize the repercussions it has on that person. I was talking about this with Jason, there's a quote by Thomas Jefferson that says, if you're angry, count to 10. If you're really angry, count to 100. And I tweet that out sometimes, and I say, like, this rule applies to tweeting as well. There would be so much less of this like angst sometimes I'm like, I can't even look at my newsfeed on Twitter. And I just wish people would take just one step, maybe read the entire thing so that they can understand what was being said rather than just fire off because they want to. And maybe that would make Twitter a little bit, or any social media platform, a little bit better. Don't fire off right away.
Count to 10 and probably 100.
Yeah.
I have an artistic question for you.
Okay.
How has your delivery of the song changed from the beginning of the tour to the end, so to speak?
Very good question. Well, I'll tell you from the beginning of when I first started singing that song, I would try to cram every vocal acrobatic thing. I wanted everybody to hear my range because I felt like this was my 1/92nd shot. Although if you try to add so many vocal acrobats, it will be about like a 2.5, 3 minute song by the time you finish. But I used to do that. And then I will never forget, I was so proud of myself after one performance because I only sang it the way it should have been sung, which was very difficult for me, being somebody who loved power ballads and, wanted to be like Faith Hill and all those Celine Dion. And I remember this veteran came up to me and he was, older guy wearing his uniform. And he said, "Thank you for singing the song the way it was supposed to be sung." And it never hit me that this song is about them and allowing them to have a moment to maybe flash back to the time that they enlisted. The sun is really coming in right now. If you need me to, I don't know what I got to do, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to be replaced by light. And I just remember thinking like, wow, this is not, again, this isn't about me. This isn't about me showing everybody what I could do vocally. And I made an effort from that point on to make sure I sang it the way it should be sung. And there was times in the beginning, I still would add some things, but it got to the point where I was able to, maybe halfway through, I was just like, I'm done with any kind of other flourishes. I'm just going to do it. And what's nice is people can actually sing along. Wow, this is bright.
Yeah, you want to rotate it? There you go. Put your big head in front of that sun. Hey, that's already a little bit better.
Oh, well, I cleaned this, just disclaimer, I cleaned this side. So anything messy is not my fault, everybody.
No, it's you have the caveat, like the COVID caveat. You just say I'm blaming COVID, and then we all go, yeah,
Best. Yeah, you can see my vitamins and my speaker on there.
It's okay. We'll get over it. Okay. Can you turn the other direction, maybe?
Yeah, maybe that's better. Hold on.
Oh, that's a lot better. Well, yeah, there you go.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay, everybody.
Okay, so are you ever accompanied when you sing the national anthem, or is this always a cappella other than microphone?
There was a time somebody tried to play. They didn't know that I
sense a good story.
Oh, and I just remember no one asked me. Like, I figured everybody knows, like, I don't sing with anything. And this person just would just like it was a tape. Like, it was this big those old karaoke machines. Mm-hmm. And I just remember, I never stopped singing the anthem, but I was like, okay. I was like, I'm okay without that. This was at a big school assembly. It was really funny. But there was one other time, I think it was in Minnesota, that this really, really adorable group of kids, they were all cousins, sang with me, which was really, really nice. But I've never done it just because I try to be as simple as possible. And if you just show up, sometimes I've sung without a microphone, it doesn't matter to me. I'll just make it happen, and I don't need anything else. That's a very long answer for a very easy question, but.
Well, let me ask you a very common question that you must get a lot. How often do you screw something up in a song where, like, you don't hit the note or you forget rockets? Yeah.
Sorry. I just don't want anybody to see this big vacuum that's in the back. All right, there we go.
All right.
I did not screw it up. I've kind of as a joke one time that I could sing it. If somebody called me at 2:30 in the morning, I'd be able to sing it. And I ended up having that opportunity because I sang the anthem 24 times in 24 hours. And I did sing it at 2 o'clock in the morning as well as 3, 4, and midnight. But I just, it's interesting because I've gotten to the point where it's just like, like you know how to set up a podcast. You don't have to like think and rehearse. You just know it's part of you. And I really was determined to make sure that was essentially what happened for me. Because there are sometimes high pressure situations. There's things happening. Sometimes they're blowing like fireworks up and stuff, and you can't flinch. So no, I'm proud to say no.
Good.
Trying to fix my
true
hair.
Professional.
Yeah, true professional while fixing my hair on your podcast.
Yeah, I'll fix my hair too. That way you don't look so bad.
I don't look so.
This is the fixing the hair portion of the podcast. And John, for example, is growing his hair out one last time.
Yeah, John does not need to fix his hair. It's a nice little like Farrah Fawcett thing. Oh, okay.
Feathered, yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's what everybody wants to hear when they're growing their hair, that it looks like Farrah Fawcett.
Well, I think you were really high maintenance if you had like a fan blowing on you.
Oh, that's what I need.
You could be the Beyonce of podcasters.
That's what I need. I'm going to do that. When you sang it 24 times in 24 hours, that's a pretty cool run. Where did you get to sing it at 2, 3, and 4 in the morning?
It was all in the same place. So there's a organization called Shootout for Soldiers. They're a lacrosse charity, and they had called me up. This is in 2015, and they said, we're doing this event where it was in Dana Point, California, and they said, we're going to play the game once an hour for 24 hours. So when he was saying that, I'm like, what? Hold on a second. Every game you're having a new start every game. And they're like, yeah. So I said, well, what if? And I sang it every hour, and I had an American flag that a different veteran held. I mean, I'm spewing this out to him, and I think he was probably like, why did I call this girl? And I was like, if I have a veteran at each time hold the flag, we'll get his name or her name, and then I will auction that flag off for charity, one of your charities. And they're like, do you really want to? And I was like, yeah. Well, oh my gosh. It was exactly the same weekend that my cousin was doing the Crucible. He was in Paris Island. Right. And I would not want to say that I felt like I was going through what he was going through. But whenever I got tired, I would always say like, well, my cousin right now has had, 3 days of no sleep? And I was like, I could do this. I mean, I had talk about hardship, right? I had to walk down the stadium steps. There were 58 steps. Then I'd sing, then I'd walk back up, and you wouldn't have that much time because everybody wants to talk to you as you're going up.
Right.
And I lived off of a banana. I didn't make banana bread, but I lived off of a banana and some Gatorade. Then I took that flag. After the 24th time, I finished at around 6:30, and I was in Dana Point. I had to get to LAX and then fly overnight to Fox News, had me on. Then they asked me to sing again, and we auctioned that flag off. And I think it was like $3,500 went to the Gary Sinise Foundation.
Nice.
Right.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
I was like on adrenaline after that was over, but boy, oh boy, it was bad after I was done.
Is it enough to be known as the person that you get to sing the national anthem, or do you feel like you need something more? Or are you getting the credit for how hard it is to do what you do?
I don't really care, if I get credit or not. I just kind of love what I do. I love the different experience that I get to have. I mean, I've gotten to meet dozens and dozens of Medal of Honor recipients. I've gotten to have just some conversations that I probably would have never had because not many people get to be backstage with some of the people I get to be backstage with. And just so many opportunities to really see the privilege that we have. Whenever I sing that song, I don't care where I am or what I'm doing. I always take a moment to just remember what I'm doing. My husband always says, like, just remember what you're doing, because you can get caught up. Does my hair look okay? Is there a vacuum behind, all that stuff. But I always try to think of there could be one person that that song for them could mean something. You know, I said this last week, there are visible wounds of war and there are invisible wounds of war. And sometimes something like that, just that moment for them, can bring them back, and they can, you know, have some type of healing moment. Who knows, you know, by that. But also, it's just, to be honest, you got to give that as much respect as you can. So I'm not looking at anything but do it right, do it the way it's supposed to be sung. And hopefully there are some veterans that are there for it.
Yeah, I want to call attention for our viewers to Pete's put a link to Janine's website at the bottom of the page here. And for our audio only listeners, it's JanineStange.com, and Stang has an E at the end.
Yes.
But I want to ask you, Janine, who's your favorite singer of the national anthem who's not you?
Well, I mean, I have to say Whitney Houston. I know that's probably what you expected, but I just remember watching that and just being like, how do you ever get any better than that? You know, it was just done so well. And it was just at a moment, I think, that it just made so much sense to have that happen.
Yeah.
Well, and the answer is you don't sing it better. You can hope to sing it as well, you know, and deliver it with the same kind of.
And I hear a lot of people always try to cop what she did. It's like, don't do that. Don't lie.
Yeah.
Don't, just leave it alone.
Yeah. Yeah. Just get anywhere near as good as that in your own way, and you're good. You know who else does a great national anthem? I'm stealing this from John right now before he has a chance to say it. That's Huey Lewis and the News. Those guys, when they go out there and they sing it a cappella, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's as good of an arrangement as anybody does with that song.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, there's a lot of great ones. And, you know, people always tell me when there's somebody that really bombed it, and they're like, you got to listen, it was horrible. And I will not listen to anybody that bombs it, because I don't want to get that in my head. So I just don't. So I've never heard the bad ones.
Yeah, you got to stay away from that. There's no point in that. No. Besides that, you also got to give somebody that wasn't their best moment, and why rub that in? But artistically speaking, where do you go from here? Because now that you have people's attention and they understand that you have a mission, but you still do have a beautiful voice. So what are you going to do with it?
I've been doing a lot of speaking. You know, I think I did a lot of albums back in the day, different styles and things. And I just think the music industry turned out to be not something that I absolutely loved. And I focused more on taking my experiences from singing in all 50 states and kind of, you know, making a hour-long talk about it, where it's similar to a song, because you're communicating a thought, you're bringing people through a journey. And that is really, interestingly enough, I enjoy that even more than singing, which is, if you would have asked me when I was, 17, no way. But I've really enjoyed it. So.
Has the song come to mean more to you? I mean, sitting in a room full of Medal of Honor winners, obviously that's impactful because of what they've done. But how has the song changed meaning for you?
Well, I think initially I just sang it because I was like, this can showcase my voice. And then through meeting different people and getting to see what it means for them, singing at a Arlington National Cemetery Gold Star family service, you see how that song can comfort them, makes them. I sang at 9/11 Memorial, very small event. It was at Cantor, a spinoff company of Cantor Fitzgerald. They had me there. I think it was like the 10th anniversary of 9/11. And I remember like, okay, I got to sing for them. It was very odd. It was in the stairwell kind of thing. And I just remember this guy, he's probably like size of like a football player. The second I started singing, it had nothing to do with me or my voice or any of that. It was just the moment that it meant for him. He came undone. He had to walk out of the room because he was sitting next to guys that he lost in 9/11, and it brought back so much. So I feel like this is one of those songs that can, when they say like, where were you when so-and-so died? Like sometimes if done correctly, and if it's the right time, and it brings you back to a moment, I think the meaning for me is more so what it could potentially mean for people that are they're listening. I sang at the Donald G. Stratton, the USS Arizona survivor. He was one of four. Now there's only one of three, and there's now only two remaining. I sang for his funeral, and sometimes it hits you right before you get on stage. I mean, I was singing in front of there is his flag draped coffin, and you're just thinking what this guy went through. I mean, he's got this amazing book he wrote, and there's movies about him, and that song, the story. They kept playing the Star Spangled Banner during the attack. It was a band, the Navy band was playing it. So you just know that, yes, there's many people that have sung it. There's many things that have happened. There's many things that it meant, during a time that song brought everybody together. So I've got to experience that. And I don't take it lightly at all.
Another thing I want to call attention to for our viewers and listeners is that there's a documentary. And I think it's available at anthemgirldoc.com.
Yeah, it's also on Amazon Prime. So you can just type National Anthem Girl if you have Amazon Prime, and you could watch it on there. Yeah, that came out in July.
Yeah. So watch it on Amazon Prime, but buy it at anthemgirldoc.com.
Yes. Help the film company that did it is they've got a lot of other great films. This was their first documentary, and they told me it was going to be their last. They said it took them 2 years it took them as long as it took me to go through all 50 states. It took them to put that film together.
Let me tell you, it seems so easy on the surface to put together something like this. And from actually going state to state.
Yeah.
It is not easy. And then there's sometimes I'm going to guess that there was some point where you could have knocked out South Dakota, but it just didn't work out time-wise. And then it takes a whole nother goddamn 5 days to do that trip individually.
And what was nerve-wracking for me is I didn't have any kind of budget. Some people thought I got paid to do this or whatever. I didn't. And I was trying to make sure I was as economically sound as possible, as frugal as possible. And I was just always praying that there would never be any kind of rain out or anything because, sorry, you're here, but the event is canceled. There was one event. It was West Virginia. I was supposed to sing at a baseball game, and I don't want to wreck the movie for the people that don't watch this, but I'm going to give you one state. So I was supposed to sing. It got rained out, and I'm like, I can't go home. I was like, you got to find something. So such a nice community. They said, well, there's a donkey basketball game.
Yeah.
At a high school. And I'm like, I'll take it. I'll go. Where is it? And it was thank God for all those people that went to this game, and I got to sing for them. So.
You are the best. This is terrific. A donkey basketball game. What other great surprises were there on this journey?
Well, I got to fly a plane, a T-34, which was fun.
That was in Montana, right?
Yes, it was Montana. Thank God I did not christen that plane, but I was so close to. And it was funny because I had to sing for a rodeo, and it was, let's say if it's at noon, I was up in that plane at 11, and the event director was like, she's in that, who said she could do that? And then I got back, and I was just thankful that I did not throw up all over myself, because in the plane you would, because that was the only outfit I had. So,
can you imagine?
Oh, but I was queen.
And I bet you're the kind of girl, the show is going to go on, even if there's puke on the dress.
Oh, it was not going to, no, it was not going to matter. I was going to do that. There was one time that this woman, this was before any of this, National Anthem Girl stuff happened, but I was supposed to sing for a football game, and the person responsible for bringing me the microphone realized 3 minutes before I had to sing, and did not strike me as the kind of person that would try to fix it. Just was oh no, I don't have the microphone. So I remember, because I'm I did not come all the way out here to not sing the anthem, aside from the fact you need to have the anthem. So I was in heels, I was in this long coat, and I took off running from the 50-yard line all the way around to go to the elevator, and it was broken. So I ran all the way back, and they were starting to announce me. So I ran up to the bleachers and got the attention of the press box, and they threw the microphone down. I caught it, and I sang from the bleachers, and everybody's like, where the heck is this voice coming from? That's how it happened. So
You are a beast for that. I applaud. That's the spirit. Way to make it happen.
And I was out of breath. Think about it. I ran a football.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. In heels.
In heels. Yeah. Like, okay, hold on.
Let's stay quiet a moment longer, Pete. This keeps getting better.
Yeah. Oh, and it was in hail. It was hail. Hail was scary.
Oh, see?
And my dad was videoing it. And my dad was like sort of started to run with me, like, where is she going? And then you could hear him laughing. And then you could hear him like, where is she? Like it, yeah. I don't know how that didn't make the documentary, but they're probably holding that for ransom for.
Yeah, probably. And then what would it take for you to do the Enrico Palazzo version of the national anthem?
Am I allowed to, I don't know.
Ah, well,
you tell.
Should I Google that?
Enrico Palazzo was the umpire at the Dodgers game during Naked Gun. And so it's actually Leslie Nielsen's character. Oh. And he doesn't, and he's on the case and he's trying to catch the bad guy. So it's a hilarious version. And he doesn't know the words. He's like, bunch of bombs in the air.
Yes. But you know what's funny is that is hilarious because it was I wonder if he was copying that. When I was in, was it Wisconsin? Yes, Wisconsin. This reporter took me around to talk to different people and see who knew all the lyrics to the anthem. And a guy said a bunch of bombs in the air. And we were laughing, but maybe it's because he was.
It's 100% for sure because of that.
I just didn't know. I just thought he was making that. Oh my goodness. Wow. Full circle for that. That's
a good one. And that movie is old enough that OJ was not a murderer at that point, and it's in the movie. So Enrico Palazzo.
I can't believe I've just learned this. Wow. Well, people that watch the movie, you'll see a guy doing an Enrico Palazzo impersonation, and you'll see me thinking he was just coming up with that in his own genius self.
Is that in the movie?
Yes, it's in the movie.
Well, I have not a question, but a brief story. I was at a Little League baseball game in Vallejo, California, which is my hometown, and also the hometown of an R&B band called Confunction. And one of the former members of Confunction, I think it was Carl Fuller, was the third base umpire in this Little League. It was an all-star game, so it was a big tournament. There were a lot of people in the stands. And whoever was scheduled for the national anthem didn't show up. So somebody said, hey, that's Carl Fuller umping third base. And he went, yeah, give me the mic. Sang the national anthem in
wow.
In relief. So, yeah, we thought that was pretty cool.
Back in the day that, nowadays that would go viral.
Yeah. I wish somebody had a camera pointed at. That was like probably during the flip phone era. So yeah, it's not about that at all. It was a pretty cool moment. Speaking of going viral, what of the moments along the way did you experience some kind of a viral response or something that kind of took you by surprise in terms of where it took off?
I think the biggest thing for me, which was really helpful, was first of all, this was before Periscope. This was in 2014 was when I finished. So I was kind of doing this 2012, 2013, 2014 were really the 2 years that I really was doing this, hardcore. But I remembered it was in April of 2014. And I was really like, okay, I got to finish because the national anthem was turning 200 in September of 2014. So I really wanted that to be like the culmination. Yeah. And I still had no clue how. I thought I was going to have to hitchhike. I didn't know how it was going to happen. But I had toyed around with the idea of doing and I hate asking for money, but I said, I could do a GoFundMe campaign. But I also knew enough to know that if you don't have any publicity, you could start all you want and you could ask people for money all day long. No one's going to go, oh my gosh, I have this vibe that this girl is asking for money. Let me go find her GoFundMe campaign. You need publicity. And I remember was just from a tweet saying this is what I was going to do, or I was doing it rather. I was already about 25 states in, something like that, and still tweeting about it. But again, prepared for, I might have to, hitchhike. I don't know what I'm going to have to do. And I remember I got a tweet reply from Heather Nauert. At the time she worked for Fox News, and she said, do you have all of the photos? Like, are you keeping a photo journal of this? Like, what's your, she just had thought it was interesting. And I was like, I just remembered I was parked at the time I was living in LA, and I was parked in front of a State Farm. And I just remember looking at that tweet and then looking up, seeing State Farm, whatever that meant, but going, wow, like this is somebody. At the time, I didn't have a blue check mark at that time. So seeing anybody with a blue check mark tweeting to me was, So about 2-3 weeks later, I was on Fox News, and they allowed me to kind of share about my mission. But that very morning at 6 a.m., I launched the GoFundMe campaign. And they made, I got to say that I was trying to raise money to get through, and I was able to eke to the end with the money that I was able to raise. So it wasn't necessarily viral, but it was very vital for me because I didn't know how else was going to happen. I was really, really grateful for that exposure because it would have been tough to make it through. So that's how that happened. That was kind of a thank God moment.
Yeah. Isn't that funny how those moments come right when they have to come, and they just, but it takes you running all over the field in your high heels, going and demanding you're going to sing at a donkey basketball game to make that moment even possible,
That's what I tell people all the time. It's exactly what you're saying. As an example is like, you can think you're going to do something all you want. And it plays to your point as well, John. It's like, if you're not out there actively doing it, nobody's going to believe in you. You're not going to attract anybody that's going to want to engage in your mission. And for a while, I would say for a few years, instead of like blowing down mountains in my life, I was going around them, waiting for somebody to say, this girl has such a great voice. I think I'll sponsor her to blah, blah, blah. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody cares. When it matters, when you are so busy anyhow, like I used to dream of the day that I would have a publicist. I don't know why. When I was younger, I just thought it would be so amazing. It got to a point because like the Today Show was calling me, MSNBC, like all these different shows were calling me. And I remember going, I got to get a publicist. I can't handle this anymore. And I remember like a couple months later going, wow, that time wasn't the way I imagined it in my head where I'd be like courting 5 different people. I was like, oh my gosh, I need something now. And it has to happen. And it never even occurred to me at that time I had to have a publicist because I couldn't answer the phone. I was on the plane. I couldn't handle it. And that's when it happens, when you are in it.
In the middle.
Thinking about it and dreaming about it. Ain't going to happen.
Yeah. You know who's got a viral video from a baseball game is John's lovely wife. And it just so happens that it is her birthday today.
It's my nephew's first birthday today as well.
Oh, wow.
Like very first, like he's born today?
No, so that would be his entire year being.
Okay, so he's 1 year. Okay, yeah.
He's got a great birthday.
He does. Yeah. Chris Kyle, I think, as well today.
Could we, and it's okay to say no, but could we convince you to break form and sing a little happy birthday to KB and your nephew for us?
I could. I just want to tell everybody I am horrible at singing happy birthday. I really
got a blue check mark next to your name for singing. I'm positive we can get this done.
Let's all 3 of us sing.
Okay, fair enough. And I'm going to have John tell you a story about the last time we sang professionally. I'm going to call this a professional gig. John, tell her about our debut.
You have to get paid for it to be considered professional.
You know what? She works in healthcare, so I know she's not watching. So we'll spare her the happy birthday. I'll sing it to her later.
Okay.
But I will tell you that Pete at some point grabbed a gig. I don't know what it was. So one of those gig economy platforms where you did odd jobs for somebody.
Yeah.
And we had to pick Pete's daughter Brenna up at the airport. And so he saw this gig she was flying into San Francisco. So we went and got her at the San Francisco airport. And then on our way out of there, coming back through, you had to drive. We're on the other side of San Francisco. So we had to drive through San Francisco. He picked up a gig for us singing When I'm 64 to a woman whose office mates hired us because it was her 64th birthday. I think her name was Denise, if I remember correctly. And so we go pick Brenna up at the airport and, hey, how's it going? And Brenna at the time was probably 16 or 17.
Yeah,
maybe.
Probably.
And on our way to Pete's house from the airport, he says, oh, by the way, we got to make a stop because we're going to make some money. And we pull into this office in San Francisco. We go into the high rise. We go up to like the 34th floor. And we walk in on Denise's office birthday party. And there's probably a dozen people in there. There's a small office. I didn't know what even they did in there. And the three of us just walked in and sang When I'm 64. And then I think we made like $25. And we went and got lunch with that. But the funny thing was, Pete told us about the gig right after we picked Brenna up from the airport. So we had probably about 20 minutes to work out a routine.
Oh my gosh.
And we worked out the routine, and it had sound effects and a little slapstick.
Oh.
We had a whole shtick, and it probably sounded terrible, but it brought the house down.
You know what? I'm sure it did. I mean, they had no idea who you two were?
No,
not at all.
Sight unseen.
And it really did a lot for, Brenna's a neat kid, but she's kind of shy.
Yeah.
And so it put her in a position where she just had to do something because that's what we were doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then to have it be received.
Yeah.
It was a birthday party. So everybody had a good time with it. And
did you get any referral?
Well, what we did not get was referral business.
But John, as the arranger of the whole situation, was great. He was brilliant. He's like, we're not going to sing the whole song. We're just going to sing enough so that everybody knows what we're singing. We're going to shut it down and get out of there before anything happens.
But then did they dock you because you didn't do the whole song?
No,
they loved it.
Yeah.
We walked out to wanting more.
Yeah.
Oh, that's smart. Sportsmanship.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
It was good stuff, but we're not going to go to all 50 states with it. That's one thing we know for sure.
And you could, so I'm on air every Thursday with Flash Phelps on Sirius XM. So tomorrow. And he has been to all 50 states like millions of times, like literally, I think it's 8 times. And he's been on, I think it's almost 75% of the county roads in the country.
Wow.
So for his 50th birthday, he said, I'm going to go all 50 at 50. And I said, he hated me for it by the end, but I said, you should eat a cupcake because I doubt anybody's ever done this. Eat a cupcake in every state. And he did.
There we go.
He had to go sometimes to like Walmart and get one of those like yellow frosted cupcakes, but he did that. So, I mean, there's no reason why you can't do When I'm 64 and all 50.
Well, yeah, right. Blah, blah. When you're out on the road and you're doing stuff like that, how much of that did you do? Like, oh, I'm in Maine. While I'm here, I better eat a lobster roll, or,
well, again, considering that I didn't have like this luxurious, I was like trying to conserve everything I possibly could. And I didn't have the time because it would mean another hotel night or whatever. It would be funny though, because I think people thought I had endless time in each state. They'd be like, while you're out there, if you check this and this, and I'd be like, I'd love to, but I'm going to see the inside of my hotel and the inside of the stadium. And then I'm back on a plane. It was something like when I was in Hawaii, I sang on the Missouri. And I did have like an escort that took me around. I got to see a lot of Ford Island, Hickman Air Base and things like that, which I got to see stuff that civilians can't see because I was escorted. Oh, Blake Field likes cupcakes.
That's true.
Yes, he does.
Blake likes cupcakes for sure.
Hey, I'll tell you what, if you ever encounter Blake Field and you bring him a cupcake, I'm sure he'll he'll enjoy that, and he'll enjoy the singing, and he'll enjoy whatever conversation you
Yeah.
have with him.
I think if you like cupcakes and somebody gives you a cupcake, you're pretty much, what else is there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just a captive audience, but you know, willing and eager.
Mary wrote, just really quick, have you ever thought of writing a book about the songs, meetings, and vets using the money to raise for vets? The one thing I want to add is the documentary, Mary, that is on Amazon Prime, but also people can buy it. If you go to anthemgirldoc.com, a portion of the money is going to raise money for, is raising money for veteran charities. They've made a lot of donations to different ones, including Operation Gratitude. So that answers your question. I was actually 29,000 words into a book, and realized the only person that would read it would be my aunt and my mother-in-law.
Hey, but you know what? It'd be there, and it'd be there to let other people say, like, would you say no if someone else wanted to buy it? You'd say yes.
That's
so
true.
Sometimes you got to write it.
Yeah. Yep. Exactly. So instead, Kelly's Filmworks did a nice documentary that people can 116 minutes.
The perfect
for our audio audience, for our listeners who aren't looking at video, make sure you go to JanineStange.com. And Janine has no extra letters in it. There are no extraneous ands anywhere. It's just Janine and Stange with an E at the end.
Just like my anthem, no extra flourishes.
No extra flourishes. That's right. Play the record. Actually, you know, we've had a lot of musicians on the show, and it boils down to that a lot of the time. Even some of the most renowned musicians who have all the amazing chops will say, you know, people come to see us. I love the reactions that we get when we just play the song. And that's what everybody wants. That's what reminds everybody of their moment with the song, whatever it is. I'm glad you put it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you can get bored. I don't get bored singing the anthem, but when I was singing my own material, sometimes I'd be like, I'm so tired of doing it this way. Let me change it. But that is a great point. You know, that people are there because, again, it brings them to a moment. It brings them to a time that they remember.
One of the musicians we had on, I can't remember who it was, but he said, you know, you don't need to change it because the audience loves it. That's why you have to play it every night. You already did it. You already did something that matters to them. And you don't have to, like, it's done. You did it. Play it that way.
Right. Yeah.
Stuart Copeland.
Don't.
Okay. Yeah. That
reinvent the wheel.
Yeah. That's right.
Hey, what's next for you?
You know what? Getting out of quarantine is put in front of the other, and getting back out to speak, because what I really love to do, I don't really talk about the journey that I was on so much, but I talk about the things that hold us back and the things that we say a lot of times that are really just procrastinations. You know, within each of us is the ability to make a difference and do amazing things with our lives, no matter how old somebody is or how young somebody is. And I feel that I was given that gift as much as it was one of the hardest times in my life of losing my mom. I realized there was a lot of other things important rather than just becoming rich and famous. And I try to, all different audiences all over the country, help them to see that. And that is one of the most fulfilling things in it. And I count it as a gift because I get to give what a lot of the lessons that my mom taught me to so many other people. So that's really what's next. And it's nice to feel like just completely satisfied in hardcore pursuing that and not saying, I got to get somewhere else. It's like, this is where I am and I love it.
Yeah, you're already there. You're already there. That's good.
So if I can recap for our listeners, a couple of key points that Janine is making here is, first of all, duty and purpose are great, and people can smell it on you. Also, if you're out there and you're doing it, that's where the stuff happens. So get out there and do it. And I know right now we're all under quarantine. So for those of you who are not able to get out there and do it, which is most of us because everybody's not gathering right now, create. You're at home, you have time, sit down, be with yourself, create. Now is a great time for artists to make stuff. So follow Janine's example and get to doing. How's that?
Get to doing.
And
And you can follow her on Twitter at the Anthem Girl. And then I like Blake's question, so I want to throw it at you. With esports and iRacing and internet-based sporting events happening, how's that an opportunity for you?
Yeah, interesting. I've been actually asked. There's a veteran event coming up, and they want me to sing for it virtually. I think if there's anybody out there that needs me to sing for their events, let me know. I know that there's some people. I think Rita Wilson just did something for NASCAR recent, like yesterday or something like that. But yeah, no problem with that at all.
I love it. Well, you can book her at her website, JanineStange.com.
Yes. Oh, and can I say one more thing?
No.
Okay, I'm leaving. I can't go anywhere. If there are any moms or any teachers out there who are pulling their hair out because they're having to find content to help their kids learn, the documentary covers history, geography, vocabulary, and even character education. So if you had your kids watch that, you get in touch with me through my website, and I will do a question and answer, virtual question and answer. I know Zoom nowadays is not a thing to do because they're saying they're Zoom bombers. But if your school has a specific platform, I will jump on that, and I would be more than happy to do a Q&A, and that will probably free up some of your time. You could probably do the laundry.
Perfect.
Yeah. Hey, Janine, we're fans. If you have anything that you're doing and it's time to promote, please include us. We'll do anything we can to help you.
That's very nice. Thank you so much. I will keep that in mind, because there are things like Medal of Honor mail call that I do, collect letters from all across the country. So thank you for that. I thought you were about to say you need a fan for your hair.
No, I'm going to get one now.
You're okay. You're low maintenance.
Happy birthday, KB.
Yes, happy birthday, Kate, and stay safe. Your wife where is she? She's in hospital, or?
She works in a dialysis clinic.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right, well, pray that she stays safe and everybody stays safe, and we all get out of this sooner than later. But also taking the time now to appreciate the things that we've taken for granted when we were out and about.
Like John's luscious hair.
That's true. I mean, look at that. You could have said you don't have to wash your hair until you get out of quarantine, but you are dedicated. I think you washed your hair. They say the desperation you could smell, but you also smell when somebody doesn't wash their hair.
That's true. That's true.
Hey, thanks for coming on the show, Janine.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great night.
All right.